Have you been enjoying the I Am series? Good. Thought so. It's been really enjoyable for us as a pastor preaching team to talk about these various images. The door last week, that image of the shepherd sitting there right at the door, physically protecting the flock and keeping them simultaneously from straying. Got so many more ahead as well, but today, maybe one of the favorite. I am the good shepherd. I am the good shepherd. And this follows on last week's reading, chapter 10, verse 11. It's on page 979 if you care to follow along. Jesus says these words, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. The man runs away because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father. And I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that are not of this sheep pen. I must bring them also. They too will listen to my voice, and there shall be one flock and one shepherd. The reason my Father loves me is that I lay down my life, only to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down and authority to take it up again. This command I received from my Father. The Good Shepherd. You know, might be one of the earliest images that children learn to love is that Good Shepherd. And they certainly learn that they are the sheep because there isn't a Sunday school curriculum in existence that doesn't involve taking cotton balls and gluing them to paper. Sometimes gluing them to kids as they come out from arts and crafts with little sheep all over themselves. I can certainly remember doing that. My first church was called Good Shepherd. And the bishop preached a sermon on the Good Shepherd and reminded me that I am a Good Shepherd, not the Good Shepherd. And I'm painfully aware of that and grateful that that's the case. It was the first image of Jesus used in the catacombs of Rome, painted on the walls. In fact, the shepherd imagery was one of the ones that was first used for Jesus, and it was far more predominant for the first several centuries than the one we've come to perhaps know the best, which is Jesus on the cross. Simpler for Christianity oftentimes was a shepherd's crook. Next week, it will be one of the lessons that we read when we say goodbye to one of our matriarchs, Shirley Pearson, who knew the Good Shepherd well. Although I have to say she had some issues with the Good Shepherd's timing. See, Shirley had lived a full life, and those of you who know Shirley, she decided when she wanted something to happen, it usually happens. So she told the Lord, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I'm good. I love my family. Love my church. I've gotten to live a full life. Not always easy, but praise God. I got this far. I'm ready. And in fact, she even told the Lord, according to her family, when he was going to come. And was she mad when he did not? Can you imagine having the faith that is so great that you're ready to go into the shepherd's arms? He was a week late. Can you believe it? The speculation was that he had not turned his day timer quite. But he took her, and he's got her. And someday, you and me. Someday, you and me. The Good Shepherd. In fact, the Hebrew word may be better, or the Greek word may be better translated as, I'm the ideal shepherd. I'm everything that you could want in a shepherd. Now let's look at what that can mean for us when we look at the Good Shepherd. One thing is, of course, that the Good Shepherd leads us to greener pastures. We get that from Psalm 23, right? He leads me beside green pastures and still waters. It's a very important job for a shepherd to lead the sheep to green pastures, because what sheep will tend to do is graze in the same location until they've eaten everything. And they have the habit of, let's say, dining and relieving themselves in the same location, which can lead to illness and just general yuckiness. But sheep on their own, that's what they'll do. They'll just stay put until they've eaten everything up and ruined the beautiful pasture they started in. So the shepherd's got to lead them somewhere else for the sake of their health and the sake of the pasture's health. You know, we like the image of the Good Shepherd. I don't know, should we always like the idea of him leading us to other pastures, though? I mean, I think most of us like our pasture. You know, whatever we've found ourselves in or been able to fabricate for ourselves or create for ourselves, our relationship, our lives, or our job, our situation, we kind of like it. You know, maybe we like it better than the unknown of what could happen. Maybe it's not the greatest, but, you know, it's the one we know. And we should know that the shepherd is always nudging us, too, to get a move on. And I can tell you that we were caught flat-footed when the church in Lantana contacted us about becoming partners. I mean, it's not that we didn't know about the church. I'd been there before, and I knew the pastor, and he and I had been talking for the past year about the ups and downs they were going through. But the offer itself caught me flat-footed, and I'm thinking now, oh yeah, the Good Shepherd, he wants us to keep moving. Now, Advent has not stayed in one place. If we were, we'd all be still worshiping in the fellowship hall. We don't stay still long at Advent. Usually it means buying some land and building some more, which is another thing that we're still looking at doing at the congregational meeting. But never have we, left our site to be a church somewhere else. We're comfortable serving in Haiti and going to India, yes. But Lantana? And for some of us, that very thought just might be just a little uncomfortable. Like, don't we have enough to do here? And the answer, of course, is yes, of course, we have enough. But maybe it will be good for us to be in another pasture from time to time, to experience how God's blessings and God's challenges can be in other places as well. I encourage you to visit over the next few weeks. And then after that, they have a 10 o'clock service right now. Last week we had 10 Advent folks head out, warmly greeted, and you'd be welcome there too, to see what it means to be another pasture. On your way out at church too, we have a little handout for you, question and answers about the Lantana opportunity, and so you'd also be welcome to contact any church council members or pastors about it. So he leads us to green pastures. He protects us from danger and evil. It's an interesting statement in the Psalm 23. It says, "Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." So the rod is a club the shepherd carries, and the staff, of course, is the one he keeps the sheep in line with. What's comforting about a shepherd that can inflict bodily harm upon you if you stray? Well, actually, the way we see it is, he's there for our enemies. We can count on the Lord's protection in the face of our enemies. Doesn't mean we won't be challenged in life. It doesn't mean there won't be trials. But we know that we have someone fighting on our side. We have someone ready to protect us from the danger and evil that's inherent in being in this time before the kingdom comes. There's a little danger that people can get into these days. Jean Sager, a blogger, assumed it was safe to let her 6-year-old daughter, Jillian, watch My Little Pony on the internet until Jillian got to clicking around a little bit. And Mama had to come in and very quickly explain the birds and the bees to Jillian. My Little Pony's a very educational show, apparently. Man, parents today, God bless you. That little nursery school, Sunday school song, "Be careful, little eyes, what you see." It's so quaint. Because it was so easy, really, to protect the kids. I mean, maybe turn the TV off. It was something too intense for the kids to be watching. But now we've got TVs everywhere. We carry them around in our pocket, the internet, all the streaming services. Parents, it must be tough. Because you do want to have your kids exploring the world. They need to explore the world, but maybe not quite so much of the world, if you know what I mean. Oh, the Lord's looking out for us too, as we continually find in this world things that are not good for us. They're dangerous for us, that are evil toward us. He's looking out for us. And of course, the beautiful image of the shepherd finding us, bringing us home. Bringing us home. There was a couple that were hiking in a wooded area, and they were only a couple miles into their hike when they realized they'd lost the trail completely. And fortunately, instead of just wandering around, they still had little cell service. They were able to ping a call to the forest rangers. The forest ranger said, "I think we can get a signal on you. We'll come out and find you." Sure enough, forest rangers found them in the midst of this forest. Again, they weren't far away, but you couldn't tell which was the right way to go with the height of the trees and the lack of trail. Unfortunately, once they found the couple, they quickly realized they were now lost. And so in the world of modern technology, you know what they did? They just took a drone that they had brought with them and put it up high and found their way out of the woods. So I don't think the Good Shepherd's going to be out of business, but it might have to be adapted for modern audience. The Lord is my good drone, because we're going to find our way in new ways. But most of all, bringing us home, bringing us back for the first time, or bringing us back for the 1,000th time, leaving the 99 just for us, each one of us who matters to the Good Shepherd. And so that's the powerful images and thoughts that come out of this Good Shepherd. But I want to talk about the last image that comes out. I have, he says, other sheep. I have other sheep. They will hear my voice. Notice he doesn't say they might hear my voice. He says they will hear my voice. Now, when he's writing this, speaking these words, Jesus is talking to probably Jewish people. And he made it very clear that his first job was to reach out to the children of Israel. And so he was likely saying something that was shocking to them. What do you mean you have other sheep? We're the sheep. That's all you need. We're a handful as it is. But no, Jesus says, no, we have more. And this was very comforting as it was remembered and written and shared, because at a certain point in time, just maybe a couple generations later, people listening to this said, that's right, he has other sheep. Me, a Gentile. I'm part of the family too. And ever since then, we've heard these words with hope, that for all those who are not part of the flock in appearance, to know that Jesus has a plan for them. It might be a husband or a child, a neighbor, people far away we often think about, but of course right here in our own communities, there are many people who are lost sheep, but they're sheep, and Jesus is their shepherd, whether they know it or not. Jesus will find them, and many times he wants to use us to help. We're his hands, we're his feet, and even maybe his voice, because they will recognize his voice when they hear it. As I was thinking about this, I was thinking, how is the Good Shepherd going to reach the sheep in Lantana? course, as I thought that, I also thought, well, let's not take our eye off the ball here. How's he going to reach the lost sheep of Boca and Del Rey? All the places around us, too. I mean, all the sheep that are lost matter. One of the things that's really exciting is that the first thought we might have is if we get another church started, it's going to take a lot of our energy away from this church's ministry, and we might actually find, maybe ourselves not growing or even decreasing in our size in ministry. I certainly think if we operate on the idea that everything's a pie, and if you cut the wedge bigger, you're going to have less on the other slice. If we operate that way, absolutely, that's exactly what would seem to happen, but God doesn't do pie. He does loaves and fishes. Pastor Dave's been studying this a little bit, and he came across a statistic that I think we need to keep rejoicing in and believing in, and that is that when a church starts another church, just as the other church grows, because nothing grows faster than a new church. Nothing grows faster. Having started one, I can tell you that's true. In a couple years, we had brought in more people in my new church than the big church down the block that had all the resources in the building. Nothing grows like a new church. So as it grows down there, Pastor Dave found out that the statistics show that church, the planting church, the mother church grows 14% on average. I don't know, is that because they get excited about expanding, of reaching out, lifting their eyes up from their own business to other things? Is it the reward of God who wants to send people where work needs to be done? And if we just sit in our pasture, God's like, okay, you can sit in your pasture, but if you guys decide to head out to another pasture, don't you worry. I'll take care of you. So what about those sheep in Lantana? But let's start first about those sheep here in Boca. Had a chance as I was looking at Lantana also to study through a demographic program online our own community. And I thought it would be fun to start there. And this program, you put the zip code in, and it tells you the marketing niches that are around you. So those of you in marketing know this stuff. Now, take it with a grain of salt, and please no one be offended. These are categories for marketing purposes. Of course, none of us fit exactly in any of the categories, and we might even say it's all hooey, but at least it gives us some ideas about what it would be like to reach the sheep with the voice of the shepherd. What are they wanting to hear, needing to hear from the good shepherd? Let's look quickly here at 33431. That's the church's zip code, 33431. There are top three categories. First one, 25% of the people in 33431 are in a marketing term called people booming with confidence. Booming, obviously, the baby boomer. The baby boomer's done pretty good, pretty well. They're right at about a six-figure annual income. Nice. They got their own home. They just have just enough to enjoy life. You know, they're the ones clogging up the restaurants, in the evenings. And move the kids out. They have the bumper sticker my kid went to, and glad they didn't come back. No, it's good that you're back, Lizzie. It's good. It's good you're back. They're getting ready for an active retirement. Life's been pretty good to them, and they've worked hard. What do they need to hear from the Good Shepherd? What is something that's missing in that confidence that they have? One thing that I think is true for that group, or at least some of them, is they need good people to be with. They may have friends, but they're not always sure their friends' values really reflect what they feel here. They need good people to be with. This is a group that needs Christian fellowship, A good chili party, a good Oktoberfest. Meet a few people. Meet a few good people. And one thing I appreciate about Advent is, boy, do we welcome people who are looking for good people. The next group is fascinating. 17% of the population around us are called the power elite. They have the Cabernet, they got the boat, and they are doing well. Interestingly enough, this group is actually what I would consider kind of young to have reached that peak. They're between 46 and 50 years old. And they're in the $250,000 a year category on annual income. They have their dream home, thank goodness, because that's how my son gets employed, helping others from our church build beautiful homes. And they like the luxury lifestyle. What could they possibly need to hear from the Good Shepherd? Well, one thing is that you can start getting owned by the things that you own. You can find yourself tied down by the things that you thought would always set you free. God blesses us with good things, that's good. But God also can bless us with wisdom on how to use them and what to do with them and how to enjoy maybe the little things in life. They may look like they have it all together, but, it's kind of rough on top, actually. The competition that they often experience in their workplace to get where they get can leave them pretty stressed out and really just enjoying a nice cup of coffee and a donut in a little fellowship hall in Boca Raton. Next group is the singles and starters, and we share this population with Lantana, so this is a place of connection. The singles and starters, we could have him stand up and turn around if he's not here anymore. J-Mac, he's a single, and he was a single and starter. Now he's a married and happy, but still not that far from that era. They're between 25 and 30 years old. Just getting started with everything, school loans, but a degree maybe, probably renting. Just getting started in some kind of job they hope's going to take them somewhere, although we do know that those jobs are harder to find and that they may end up having lots of jobs in their life, many more than we ever conceived of having. What do they need to hear from the Good Shepherd? I think again and again, when you're starting at that point in time, everything kind of heading out there, don't you want to know that there's some kind of good plan ahead for you? You don't know what it is yet, but don't you want to know that God wants it to be a good plan for you? That what you can't see, you can trust that He is handling? I think you need to hear that. At a time when everything's out front, it's good to know someone's got your back, the Good Shepherd. So this is just a segment of Boca. You may say, don't know those people, may say, I'm one of those people, may say, what's the point? The point is, Jesus says that these are His sheep, these and all the others. And a good church helps the Good Shepherd reach the sheep around. And if these are the sheep around, that's our challenge and our opportunity. Now let's look up at Lantana, and this is zip code 33462. As I said before, the singles and starters, they're up there as well. And in fact, J-Mac started out up that way. A lot of people find the cost of living reasonable compared to places like Boca. They might work here, but probably live there. One nice thing is they're having kids, and they're thinking about their kids' spiritual life. With just some Facebook advertising this year, just Facebook advertising, mind you, the Lantana Church had 50 kids show up for an Easter egg hunt that they had never seen before, that they didn't know before. 50 people, kids show up just because of Facebook. There's a hunger out there for a good church where they'll be welcomed and blessed and loved. Singles and starters, as they move in that direction, they're checking that out. What's that going to look like for me and my family? The next group that's out there is the significant singles. And the significant singles, well, they've moved on a few years. They're between 36 and 45 years old. Some of them just found themselves single still. Others, they've been divorced and are in between relationships. Renting because it's affordable, but they kind of like the cool factor, you know? Lake Worth's got a cool factor. Kind of little bohemian thing going on there. They like the nightlife. They have champagne tastes on a beer budget. But you know what? Significant singles have a problem. Maybe not all of them, but many of them. And that is that relationships have been painful for them, difficult, and they feel oftentimes really lonely. How can a church reach this oh so cool demographic? Oh, that's a challenge. They're not likely to come sit down on Sunday morning. It's going to have to be something else. Something else, like, you know, a coffee shop on site, or I don't know. But they're the sheep that Jesus wants us to reach too, so that they come to know the Good Shepherd. The last group is the blue sky boomers. The blue sky boomers, like the singles and starters, but just a few years down the road, they've gotten their family started, and things are looking kind of up. Looking kind of up, like there's possibilities here. But man, are they hitting all the cylinders. They got, both of them, a job to make ends meet. They've got kids running around with their heads cut off, getting them to practices and activities. They might be taking care of an older parent already. They may be cut off from all family because they moved down here for work. Blue sky boomers, they may be the most stressed out demographic amongst us, trying to get everything done. How does the church come alongside them? You know, Advent so powerfully has with our early childhood school. What can we do like that up there that would help give a really good environment for the kids that matter so much to these blue sky boomers right now at this time of their life? Things to think about. The sheep. You know, there will be some exactly like ours area, look exactly like us, and some people look very different. Probably more ethnically diverse than our area, but then again, almost everywhere in South Florida is pretty diverse. What's it going to mean for us to be the voice of the Good Shepherd up there and here? For certain, he can be their Good Shepherd. He wants to find them. If we're faithful, he'll help us find them. He wants to protect them from a world that can be pretty bruising, and to lead them. We all need a Good Shepherd. And those of us who have a Good Shepherd know exactly what it feels like. We should want it for everybody. His name was Saman Kunam. He was a 38-year-old retired Navy officer, big into triathlons and physical fitness, had been a diver before, and when he heard about the boys caught in the cave in his native land of Thailand, he volunteered to be on the team. His job was to enter the water with a couple of those oxygen canisters and take them out and leave them in strategic locations along the way so as the people went back and forth, that would have something to resupply themselves with. On his way back from having dropped one off, headed out of the cave, but still quite a ways, a great swell of water entered the cave and created a very strong current, flowing too strong for him to fight. They found him, they brought him out. The one fatality. You know, the guys that pulled him out, they gave him all the dignity they could, but they didn't stop. They went right back in, knowing full well the same thing could happen to them. Willing to lay down their lives for those boys and that coach. You know, when we are blessed to know that the Good Shepherd, though he challenges us, wants to assure us that when we undertake anything in his name, He will be the first to lay down his life for us. And so as we look at the challenges we are excited to be facing, or maybe not, in our church and in our lives, we should know that we can count on the Good Shepherd to lead and protect and bring us home. And wonderfully, he has and he will lay down his life for his sheep. I'm going to ask Pastor Dave to come on up and preach, pray.